played 13 years professionally as a player, and to have won it as a player and now as a coach is pretty special. So you become pretty driven, and winning's pretty addictive.
They will be celebrating, and deservedly so, the Crusaders.
Try coming. Oh, too good. Crusaders win a ninth title. Cody Taylor.
Magnificent scenes here. Crusaders, fourth in a row.
Jay says, Will Jordan, they've done it again.
Oh, Seven Reese. Oh! And the Scott Robertson dynasty ends as it began, in triumph. Crusaders champions yet again.
Tēnā koutou katoa, good evening, welcome into the breakdown. Yes, Super Rugby is just about back, so we thought we'd get the band back together. The breakdown is back, and it is great to have you joining us for another season. To start off, we have gone for the biggest, the brightest and the best that we could get. And no, I'm not just talking about Jeff Wilson and Sir John Kirwan. Scott Razor Robertson, welcome into the program. Thank you so much for joining us. It is such an exciting time. How are you? How are you feeling? How are you doing? How's your summer been?
Tēnā koutou, yeah. Good evening, everyone. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on the eve of Super Rugby.
Yeah.
It's an exciting week. You don't need to do any coaching until you get players in front of you. Everything else is planning up to that stage. So we've done a lot of planning, a lot of connection. We had 27 staff, part of the All Black group. So I've done a lot of interviews, made some big calls, and I met their 200 staff between Wellington and Auckland. It's a big business, New Zealand Rugby Union, and it's good to be a part of. So I'm just being connected and just trying to learn and listen and where I can help out for a starter.
I'll tell you what, you're giving JK a run for his money. Fashion, JK.
Yeah, I know.
How about
he's always been like a frustrated winger, this man. He's always been big in the fashion. But what's it like not having to go to the office? I know that Super Rugby is pretty intense. You probably get 4 weeks off. You've been going to the same office. Beautiful to see those highlights. It hurt a bit for me being a Blues man, but great record. But you don't have to go to the office anymore. How's that been? Yeah, you miss the sort of daily interaction, but I think because it's your first year, there's a lot of firsts. Everything you do it's your first time, and so there's a lot of setup. There's a lot of time to get to know the people that are in front of you, and just build those relationships and how things work, the understanding. So I've done a lot of work by getting in front of people and installed a lot of Zooms. But, you miss the daily interaction. I miss going, into doing something. But I'm also, it's my time. I'm also excited. You're away for half a year as well. You're travelling on my way in the next couple of weeks for 3 weeks. And so you always get something continue in front of you. Yeah.
Most importantly for me was we've got someone from my generation on the show. Mills was that little bit older. Younger. You're that way past it, Sir John Kirwan. Look, I'm excited about the season as a whole. The fact we've got something different to look forward to, and the fact that, this is going to be a different All Black environment under your razor. But Super Rugby itself has got an opportunity. Whether or not it takes it once again, whether there are changes. There's already been announcements, JK, about what the game might look like. They're looking at laws.
I'm excited, Goldie, and I'm not a player.
Why, JK? Why are you so excited? With
all due respect to what's been before us, it's been the same staff for 15 years, 20 years. And take my hat off to them, they've done an amazing job for New Zealand, but this is the first time there's no prejudice, there's nothing. Like, if I'm a player, I'm going, this guy is new, he's got new staff, all I got to do is put my hand up and go hard, and I'm in with a chance, And that's what it makes exciting, I think, and that really, for me, is going to make Super Rugby way more exciting, because every single player out there is going, I've got a sniff, and I love that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about absolutely everything on the program tonight. You may not think that an hour is enough time, but we're going to try our very best. We're going to talk the international game. We're going to talk Super Rugby, and we've had so many questions coming in from you at home for Razor as well. The first one, we're starting off easy. JK would have been out surfing. You've probably been on the golf course. And for you, I presume the paddleboard may have come out. What's your favourite spot?
Favourite spot ever that I've surfed in New Zealand is Matakana Island, not the Matakana North, just the one off the Mount Headland. That's a little home. I used to spend a lot of time in my youth there. But Tay Street was my home break. Yeah. It's a beautiful part of New Zealand,
Matakana, nice. Comes out of that deep channel.
It does.
That's where all the great whites are.
There's a few more shadows there than me.
The Bronze Whalers are in there as well, though, and they're very friendly, aren't they? Well, let's get into the Super Rugby chat then. Because you're sitting here with us and you're now part of the All Blacks environment, does this mean, team, that maybe for the first time in 7 years we might see a new Super Rugby champion? What does Mills Muliaina think, and where is he anyway?
Right, Super Rugby Pacific just around the corner, team. Who do I think is going to win? I can't decide. It's either the Chiefs or the Blues, so in that case, the Chip Blues.
Oh, JK, he can never decide. He just mixes between those two teams, and he's in Invercargill, by the way.
Looked like Invercargill.
Yeah.
Beautiful day down there.
Yeah, those flowers. Yeah.
Stunning.
Hope he brings us some stuff back from Invercargill when he comes, like oysters and stuff. I'd be disappointed if he didn't.
You're always looking for a handout. Is that how it works?
No, well, oysters.
Okay, just oysters.
No, I think I understand actually this time where Miz is coming from, because I want the Blues to win, and that's my heart talking. And Mills has got a couple of hearts because he played for a couple of teams. So I think the Blues are going to be smashing it this year and nail it and win, right? But when I look at the Crusaders side and their schedule, their player group, you know, they're going to be hard to beat again, right?
Anyone else?
Are
you going to carry on and mention how many teams, or who's going to?
No, the Blues.
You think the Blues are going to win?
But tell me why.
No, but
why do you think
I've got
the Blues
enough in
this
my
year?
brain telling my heart that this team has been disappointed in the past, been hearing some great stuff about Cots and the new coaching staff. We've got some experienced players. We've got some players that I think need to step up. They're going to have a sniff with Razor, you know. Akita, Hoskins, we're going to talk about them. Guys that are going, I've been on the fringes, I know what I need to do. So, and they've been disappointed twice, you know. So...
Oh, I'll look at this pure and simply. There's no doubt when you look at the squads, there's a lot to like about a number of teams, particularly when we talk about experience, guys who've got a lot to play for. But there's been a number of changes in key positions, players who aren't there. There's no Bowden Barrett. Yeah. There's no Ardie Savia. There's no Aaron Smith down for the
Paddy
Highlanders.
Tuipulotu missing for a large chunk.
And clearly Richie Mo'unga from the Crusaders. And I can't congratulate you enough on what you've done with that group. Is it going to be your year again down in Christchurch? I tell you what, I think they're going to be really hard to beat.
Can you call it your year?
Well, I'm totally impartial.
No, I know you're impartial.
Absolutely.
Impartial, but you've been in that environment for a long time.
I'm looking at your squad, and I'm looking at the depth that you have in key positions, and the fact that when it comes to those games in May and June, when the pressure comes on and knowing how to win, look, it's going to be a huge year for Fergus Burke, though. It's going to be a huge year for Fergus Burke, because this is his opportunity at first five to drive what is a championship calibre team. No difference
healthy
for Damien, yes, but all of the teams are the same, JK. You need to stay healthy.
Oh,
you need to stay healthy. So the Chiefs couldn't probably afford to lose Damien McKenzie. The Blues, looking at their squad, probably can't afford to lose Stephen Perafeta going into their season. So ultimately, a lot of teams need to stay healthy. But
So,
I
hey,
think
listen, you talk to me about waffling on. What's
You've
your
gone
choice?
with every
I
team.
tell you what, I'm going for the fact I think the Crusaders are going to win the title again. Again. Seriously, when I look at their squad
you're kidding yourself,
and what
mate.
they've built, and particularly on what
kidding
they've
yourself.
got in front, and it's not because he's there. You know, I mean, I know what I'd like to get out of this competition in terms of watching us play a certain style of rugby. Hopefully we're getting less interference from what's happening outside of the game and what's happening upstairs. Razor, when you look at this competition, though, because your eyes are different this year, right? You're looking for the way the game's being played, but from individuals. Surely you look at this, do you look at it in a certain way to get what you need out of it?
Look, I want New Zealand teams playing finals. I want them to understand what pressure is and see them under pressure, you know, like whatever team it is. I'm actually looking forward to going into each of the franchises and looking how it's done and everything I can pick up and start building relationships with their coaches and the CEOs and anything I can do to help, but then more importantly see, you know, their players perform at the highest level. I've asked all the All Blacks that are currently in last camp to own themselves, own the ground they're on, where they currently are, play as All Blacks for their franchise, for their team, for the club, and then so they take that form. So I have to pick them.
How do you select, Razor? One of the hardest disciplines that I had to learn as a coach was going to a game and watching one player, right? When I was coaching, you could watch the whole game and make notes, but selection-wise, I'd go and just watch one guy for 15 minutes. How do you do it?
A little bit of both. I watch them for portions of the game, and then I sort of watch the game itself. Sometimes it's a bit unfair. It's hard to actually do it, like you said, to long periods of time. But it depends what you're trying to look for, the influence on the game. If it's a loose forward, you know, around the breakdown and how quick they can anticipate that breakdown and looking at and their physicality around it. You know, sometimes you can't pick it up on the screen, but we do a lot of work. The data just backs up your eye. You got to trust your eye, which is really important. But I love talented athletes, you know, and then you look at their craft and how they can get better, and then is it up to international level?
It's all very interesting. It's so great to hear your insights and to have you here as well. We're now going to look at different players to watch across all of our Super Rugby teams in New
You
Zealand.
picked the Crusaders.
Yeah, no, oh, by the way,
Just
Chiefs,
for you.
it's the Chiefs for me, just in case you were wondering.
That was never in doubt.
I was waiting for that.
The only
Kirst.
team with an international 10. The other teams don't have one right now in New
Stephen Peter
Zealand.
played Test match rugby. He's been in the All Black environment.
Last World Cup, at the last World Cup.
Yeah, good company.
Nice.
There's
Kirstie.
the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs for me. But let's take a look, and we're going to start off with your team, JK, the Blues, who, as you say, have had a number of changes. Vern Cotter has come in as the new head coach. Patrick Tuipulotu is out for injury for the first part of Super Rugby. Caleb Clark looks like a born-again winger. He's lost 7 to 9 kilos and was training with the Rabbitohs and has looked so good. So who do you look out for in the Blues? Who's got the most to prove across the season?
Oh, look, I think for me it's Hoskins Tututu. I love his talent. So this is a kid that can do stuff that other players can't do. Why was he left out in the past? Probably his repeated work rate. You know, he needs to get off the ground quicker, a few of those things. But if you can get this kid right, he can really be special. He's got that speed, he can kick, he's got all those things that Zinzan Brook had. So for me, he's got a lot to prove. If he can come out and have a great season, then, you know, he's got to put his hand up in front of Razor and say, I'm an option, you know. Artie coming back late. So I think Hoskins is huge for me this year. It's a big year for him.
And a Kirwan as well. You know, the fact that if he's ever going to get back to that level again, he has to show something in particular. But for me, it's Stephen Peter. It's the player who's coming in who no longer is in the shadow of Beauden Barrett. And it's not a bad shadow in any way, shape or form, but now he owns the team. It's his team to run. I think you've seen last year when he took the reins at Taranaki and the way that they went about their campaign when he was fit, but also he's shown it in the past. So for me, I look at the group, and if Stephen Peter can have that season where he's in control and stays healthy, because I think he'll have a forward pack in front of him that will deliver opportunities. And when you've got guys on the outside of him like Rieko Ioane, I like what I see.
And I guess without naming names for your team, without Richie Mo'unga later this year, you do have another position to fill there at first 5 in your squad.
Yeah.
Later this year.
That's right. Yeah, we do.
You don't have to talk about names specifically.
I think, and this is a question you can answer, Razor. Like, I get really annoyed when first fives cover fullback, especially if they're young like Stephen Perfetta. Think about Mertz. Mertz started at 12, went into 10. You know, DC started at 12, came into 10. It took a lot of losses, actually, for those guys to become really great at 10. So I think Stephen's biggest asset this year, Goldie, is he's 10. He's not going to go back to fullback for Bodie when he comes back, because he's not coming back until the All Black season. So you've got to play there week in, week out, because if your All Black coach is actually looking for you to perform, he's got to go down to Christchurch and win a game away under pressure. And then you go, yeah, okay. It's not all the flash stuff, it's actually that pressure stuff for me. But he'll be playing there.
If we move down the country, let's head to Chiefs country. Of course, they were runners-up in Super Rugby last year, which will still hurt them, especially at home. But there's a couple of key cogs. And when you're talking about key cogs, they're almost irreplaceable guys, aren't they? When you talk about someone like a Brodie Retallick and a Sam Cane, a Brad Weber even. I mean, Brad Weber has been a part of that team for such a long time. So who are we looking out for in the Chiefs?
Well, for me, Sam Whitelock and Brodie Retallick have been the greatest combination of locks. Forever.
Yeah.
Right? And my fear, you don't have to answer this, Razor, is at second row, like big men.
Yeah.
So for me, I was really excited about a skinny Josh Lord when he came on the scene. Apparently he's put on a whole lot of bulk, then he got injured. We need this kid. We don't need him to be Brodie Retallick or Sam Whitelock, because they're both very different players, but I just want to see him out there playing, using his body, winning the line-outs, taking control. You know, what we don't understand about locks is who's going to call the line-outs and that sort of stuff.
What are the characteristics of a lock, of an international lock, that are a must-have for you? And you've had one of the best, if not the greatest All Black lock in Sam Whitelock.
Yeah, look, I think the big for, like, is just the core roll stuff, like he's around the line out. And someone like Josh is a 2 metre lock. He's a big boy and he's a great athlete. He's quick, and the big tall guys take a bit longer. You know, they just take a little bit extra time, you know, 2 or 3 seasons in super conditions so their bodies can handle the contact week after week. Then they get a bit of consistency. And then when you start looking at, they own the line out, they fall in love with line outs, and then they become world class, and that's what, you know, Brodie did. All those guys just knew their craft inside out and were durable. Yeah.
Well, let's head down to the Hurricanes then, who also have a new coach in the Sevens maestro, Clark Laidlaw. Of course, no Ardie Savea for now. He is playing over in Japan. No Dane Coles. Geordie Barrett still there. And we welcome back a couple of New Zealand rugby stalwarts in Brad Shields and TJ Perenara. How are these guys going to get used? How does a TJ Perenara fit in with a Cam Roigard there?
Well, it's always nice to have senior experience around you. And the fact TJ himself is a competitor. He's worked really hard to get himself back. And he looks great and played, 14, 15 minutes, I think, the other day, which is a great start for him. Already talking about the fact how much impact he'll have early part of the season, not sure. But look, if you talk about a mover last year, it was Cam Roigard. I mean, you talk about a guy who got into the All Black environment, put the jersey on, and he gave a point of difference. And you always talk about a point of difference. Yeah. Here's a guy who loves to run, who's big and he's strong and he's always looking for that opportunity. Well, there's no doubt for me he was a big mover and shaker in the All Black frame, but he's still got to go out and prove it again, JK. But he's critical for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, look, I think we missed him in the final last year, just because when forwards get tired around the rucks late in a game. But the thing I like about him is we've sort of got the, you know, we've got the Aaron Smiths type halfback, and then you've got, you know, the Justin Marshall type halfback, extra loose forward, smash around the sides, annoying, you know, grumpy, angry, all those things which you need. But I think Cam's got a little bit of both. You know, I think he's got enough pace off the mark to really hold defences up. And if you're a winger, you know, and you don't want to tackle, all you want to do is get the lollies and score tries, you know, someone holding up the inside ruck and a decent pass, loving it.
He's also incredibly hardworking, isn't he? When he came into your camp earlier this year, he was the top Bronco and beat Bowden Barrett's record.
Oh, the guy's he beat it, did he? Or did he?
He's so fit, isn't he?
Well, one thing I know is he's a competitor.
Yeah.
He wanted to win everything as a good halfback likes to do. And I think with him and TJ, the Hurricanes, they've got 2 fighters, competitors, and they'll drive high standards. Yeah.
Well, let's move down to the Crusaders then. These two have picked a couple of players that they want to watch, but I want to ask you about one of them who was so good during your championship run last year, the dentist, Christian Leo-Willie. Tell us a little bit about him and what you saw bringing him through that Crusaders environment. Yeah,
I actually watched him play for the Highlanders against Fiji Drua over there in the ankle injury, and he was carrying on like half a leg, and I thought, man, he's special, he can dig deep. But it's just his ability to turn up and run onto the ball and hold his feet was really special for us, just at the Crusaders, at that time. He's got something about him. He's a smart rugby player and he was late to the game, so he's still developing part of it, but he's got something.
Well, the Highlanders did a great job of preparing him for the Crusaders, getting them ready. He came into your environment, but like you say,
they should have kept him.
Well, I'm sure we tried to keep him. But Razor got in there and created an opportunity for him. And the fact that he didn't play a huge number of minutes, but every so often the opportunities came, whether it was starting or off the bench. So I'm just excited to where he gets to. There's a number of guys I'm excited to who are coming to their second and third campaigns, who have had the benefit of being full professionals. It's how much they can take and elevate their game. And I think he's a player who's got some versatility about him, but he's got X factor. You talk about Hoskins Tutu, I talk about Christian Leo-Willie.
What about some of the forwards in this Crusaders environment when you think about Ethan Blackadder, Cullen Grace, Tom Christie, Leo-Willie? There are so many of them.
Well, I nearly cried for Cullen Grace when he got injured again last year.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you don't wish that on anyone. I've been through injuries, but this kid, and I don't know whether he's a late developer who's going to mature into it, but I just like him because he's a little bit different as an 8. You know, he's big, rangy. He can give you something different, and that's what I like about him. I'm hoping he's going to stay on the field because he's got all this promise, but we've never really seen it. But if he can stay on the field, stay healthy, I think he's going to give you an alternative to what a number 8 looks like. And I guess in the last little while we've been thinking about, you know, Ardie Savea and players like that, whereas he's just that sort of a He's in between, isn't he, Ray? He's sort of that loose forward lock, fast. He's, rangy. So I think if he can stay on the field, he's going to be interesting.
If you disagree what this back's talking about with the forwards, it's okay to jump in as well.
That's a good point.
I don't think I ever saw you use your shoulders, JK. So
Never.
You could accuse me of that as well. So let's not go there.
Tackling's overrated, mate.
That what they're thinking is actually
That's why
wrong.
you guys are on the field. Loose forwards did the tackling for everyone.
Okay, well, let's move down to your side then. Let's talk about the Highlanders, a development side. That's what they've been talking about building last year, haven't they? But Jamie Joseph is now in there as the director of rugby. Surely this guy wants to win now.
Oh, he's on the field. He had his boots on. He's got his whistle.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Is that true?
100%. The photos have been there. He's seen it. Look, Jamie's going to sit there
Can't
and
stay away.
he sets some standards for these players.
Yeah.
And the fact that the one thing he does is he motivates guys, and he's tasted success at this level. He's done it before. Look, this is a young team, the Highlanders, but for a guy like Fabian Holland, once again, another player has had 2 or 3 years of being in the system and understanding he can make an impact at the next level. I just look at this young man and look, I'm really, really impressed where he's got to. And look, you talk about set piece. The Highlanders are young. We know that. They're relying heavily on some players who have very limited experience in important roles. But I think this young man's a player who's got a big future. Now, whether it's this year, whether it's next year, but he's got an engine. And I like guys who have an engine.
Yeah. He's only eligible for to play for the All Blacks next year, so he's got another year of developing. And
So I wasn't worried about you. I'm worried about my Highlanders. So I'm needing everything I can get, Razor, to go to that next level because, like I say, you need guys to step up. Particularly, teams are deep. Teams are really deep. A number of them, where the Highlanders are just young. And like you say, but I think they can be niggly. I really, really do. That's not just my heart talking. When I look at the squad and I look at the fact that they've got someone like Jamie driving things.
What New Zealand teams can they upset then?
Well, they don't need to beat this New Zealand teams. They beat all the other sides.
You want them to be competitive, right? You said you want all the New Zealand teams to be competitive.
They'll be difficult at home. There's no doubt. I have no doubt.
The forwards need to replicate what Jamie wants. That's what they missed last year. Just work hard, get off the ground.
Win your home games.
Smash people.
Win your home games. It's not easy to go down and play in Dunedin.
Super Rugby starts in just 6 days' time with an epic derby as well. The Chiefs taking on the Crusaders at FMG Stadium, Waikato, this coming Friday night. Now, we've got some fan questions. Hundreds and hundreds of you sent in questions for our guy, Razor. So thank you for that. We're going to pepper them throughout the program. The first question is, what is one key element to creating a winning culture? That is from Rod. We're going deep here.
Yeah, straight into it. I think the first part for any culture is the connection piece, and how do you connect? How do you keep back to your whakatauki, the past, where you come from, and your sort of origin story, and then create the vision where this group's going to go, how we're going to get there, and what work ethic's going to take, and what's required is effort to get there. Yeah.
You make us so excited hearing you talk about what's to come in this environment. So thank you for sharing that. We've got a trivia question as well. The trivia, well, we're never going to stop it. These guys aren't actually going to answer the question this year because they keep getting upset if they don't get it. But the trivia question is for you at home. We will give you the answer after the break. So for you playing along, here it is. It's on the bottom of your screen right now. What legendary All Black played his last test in Scott Robertson's debut?
You don't know.
We'll tell you more right after this. Welcome back to The Breakdown. It is all go here. We've asked you your first trivia question for the year, and if you missed it, what legendary All Black played his last test in Razor's debut? Now, the answer to that, do you want to reveal it for us?
Yeah, is the Iceman. Homme de Glace in French, beautiful nickname, isn't it? Sir Michael Jones, yeah.
And what was that like for you? Had you looked up to him?
Oh yeah, he was the poster up on the wall growing up, and just admired him, as a man just as much as the player. Yeah. So it was a special moment for me, yeah. So
cool, isn't it? What an amazing moment. Well, let's talk about the international season then. You've been in camp, you've met people up and down the country in the new All Blacks setup. 14 tests, and it's not going to be easy, is it? If you look at the calendar for the year, you've got 2 tests against South Africa, the world champions in South Africa. England are coming here mid-year. You head across to San Diego for a historic match against Fiji. You've got France, you've got Ireland later this year. Yeah. I mean, when you look at that, how do you sum up the first calendar year? Is that a good challenge? for the All Blacks?
It's exciting. Like, we've got to find out straight away, don't we? We've got to get build depth through our squad and give guys and players opportunities, bring as much cohesion straight away. I just, when I looked at it, I thought, well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out about ourselves and the players that are in front of us. But most important thing I've got to do, or we have to do as a coaching group and the All Blacks and wider group, is make sure they're really clear on how they're going to play, how we're going to play, what's our identity, what's our DNA, what are we going to, and then set them up to go and play with a lot of clarity, express themselves, have a lot of fun. And I'm just looking forward, to evolving our game over the year, which is really important, and connect with our wider group, the community and New Zealand people.
We had the privilege, Razor, of being over there for the Rugby World Cup and watched the team rediscover itself in some way as it played out. Got themselves into a point where they were within one kick of winning a Rugby World Cup with 14 men on the field. I'd like to ask you, what is it? And you've obviously had a camp already with the group. But when you look at that group now and what they managed to and how far they got to and got within that moment, what is it you think that you've inherited as a group in terms of their confidence and belief as an All Black squad?
I think we've got a great balance of players that are, in the late 20s that have been there and done it. Obviously, we knew that at every World Cup cycle, you're going to lose. Guys are going to move on. That's part of it. We've got a great group that have still hungry, haven't quite got there, but know and experienced it. Care deeply about the All Blacks and this young group that are coming through that are ready to take that opportunity as well. And like I was saying before, just setting them up to do that. So we've got a great balanced group. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that came out of last year for me, Razor, is do we have to change the way we're going to play at a World Cup to win it? When you look at South Africa and, some of my South African friends thought that I wasn't happy that they won. Of course I wasn't happy because I wanted New Zealand to win. But you've got to take your hat off to them. They completely changed the way they play. I mean, is that something that we have to do to win World Cups? Are we going to play a certain way and then just change like they do?
Test football is a game of strengths. And then you've got World Cup, which is a game of finals and strengths. And that's what they play to. They're a great defensive side, great kicking side, great set-piece side. And they kick the goals to win. Majority of major events that are kicking's involved finishes with a kick to win it. If it's soccer, football, rugby, league, it's critical ones that a lot of it's won off the foot, and they won it off the foot. They made the kick. It's incredibly tight small margins in that level, and then they went back to what they were good at, and that's the shape of the game.
So we've got to change the game.
Look, you can change the game while you're still being brave and playing, but again, that could be your strength. And you play to the key guys in your group, and like I said, a big part for me is this year is to win and evolve so we can win in 2 or 3 different ways. And that's the key, I think, to being successful over a 4-year period.
You mentioned winning, and at the end of the day, the All Blacks are always judged on their results, aren't they? There was a question that came in from Steve. Thank you for your question, Steve. But it's a very relevant one. Your goals for your first year with your group, 14 tests. What's a pass mark for you? I mean, are your expectations to win 14 of 14, or are you looking to build depth? I mean, what are your goals?
Like I said before, probably winning and evolve. Evolve your game, evolve the game management, understanding what's required with what are you guys laughing at?
Oh, no, I'm wondering the same.
I'm going to ask him the same question. I'm asking him the same question.
No, I'm listening intently here because
I think that's really critical, especially the roles of your captains. It depends who you're playing, your defensive structures. You've got to have different ways that you can defend opposition. You've got to learn to win away. You've got to learn the wet. You've got to learn to win in anywhere what's in front of you.
The margins are small, right? When you're talking about test match footy, the margins are So
What's yours? What's your expectation?
My
Can you stay on
expectations
every
are-
show
Look,
just to
look,
hold these two to
How do you
account?
guys do this?
I don't. I need you here.
What is it for you?
What do you mean?
Because I bet we're both different. What's your 14 games? What's your expectation?
I'm expectation that we win every test match, but
There
that's
you
not
go.
realistic. I'm a realist as well.
And
I'd
yours,
love for us to,
JK?
but that's the fact
Yours?
that we're playing.
Your expectations?
No, hold on. We're going. No, that's not my expectation because we're playing world-class sides. This is a difficult season, and that end of year tour is always the end. It's a long campaign, and there's Ireland. There's England.
Yeah.
There's France. I don't want to, but that's a massive challenge. Like you've just said right before, we will find out once again where we are at. And the Northern Hemisphere at some point has to stand up because they failed again at a Rugby World Cup. So every time the All Blacks go, it's about proving themselves. You know that, JK. So my realism is the fact that, look, we may lose the odd test match or two. That's just the reality of that level, the fact. But it's, to Razor's point, is the fact that clearly, this is he's believing you're trying to get this team to evolve.
Yeah, no, and look, I'm the same. None of us want to lose, but I think win the cups, and it's okay to lose some games. I mean, in the Northern Hemisphere, we need to be able to take some younger guys, try some people. You know, like I think that this year is a year where it's building, and if we win the trophies but lose a few games, I'm going to be pretty relaxed about it.
Before we move on, I just want it to be known and heard again that Razor did call you two kids, all right?
Yeah.
Because of the way that you're already
I
struggling.
just knew I was going to answer, so yeah.
And the first show of the year. Anyway, we move on. It's such an exciting time for your coaching group, but also for all of these new players. Yes, there's a lot of players that have gone overseas. I mean, you talk about Richie Mo'unga, your quarterback, the ones that have retired officially from New Zealand Rugby, the Sam Whitelocks, the Aaron Smiths, the Brodie Retallicks, the Dane Coles. So what are the positions that you're most excited about seeing some youngsters in? Because there will be new people.
Yeah, I think we talked about the locks, you know, obviously when you lose two, you're going to have to bring one or two back in, and we've still got Patrick there when he comes back, and you know, he's a champion, you know, like when he's on form, he's a great player. And I think probably the halfback with Aaron Smith, you're not going to, I mentioned before, you're not really going to place him, but someone's got to go and own it in themselves in any position. We've got some good players in a number of teams coming through. Those are off the top of my mind. Yeah, those two key positions here.
The one thing when you lose experience is you lose leadership as well.
Correct, yeah.
You know, so is that going to be a big focus for you? Because I look at the group and yep, obviously we've got players that are coming back who are playing overseas right now, coming back and going to be available for the All Blacks this year. Adi Savias and Sam Gaines and they're returning. But also when you lose the Whitelocks, the Retallicks, Dane Coles, you know, and remarkable. I think he went to Japan and kept playing because he had an unbelievable season to finish with. How much of your time will be focused on bringing that group together and getting their understanding of what it is that you're about and that leadership?
One thing I've learned over time is the leadership model's got to suit the team that's in front of you, your team and coaching. There's no one such model, so you've got to mould it. Who you're going to bring through in key positions, how much do you give them too much, not to overload, and who's ready for the responsibility, who's paid sort of 50 to 60 tests, who's matured nicely, who can take over parts of the game, and then prepare them to support the captain, the vice captain, the attack, the defence, whatever it is, and then just build their responsibility and capability as you go along. So we've done a lot of work on that. Like I've got Dr. Kerry Evans that's heavily involved. He does the mental performance side of it.
Great book.
Yeah, and he's got a great performance under pressure. Yeah, it's where Bible in it beside the old bed, and he's like he'd be a big part of that, building on your internal resilience, but also understanding what this group needs in front of us.
There's another fan question that we want to ask you. This one is from Tony. How far will you push to pick players from overseas, like, let's just say, Richie Mahomes, for example?
Look, I mentioned earlier on around just sort of keeping an open mind about the eligibility and criteria. Like, firstly, it is even things we're going to open the gates, the floodgate. Well, it's not. I'm just looking at the people that are eligible and they meet the criteria. Look at it. We've got to evolve guys that have been to 2 or 3 World Cups. You know, they're starting to go overseas. What does it look like? How long could they go for? So I'm just going to be open to those questions and ask. And like, it goes quite quickly. You know, I deal with agents all the time. You know, I'm dealing with players and talk. One of my main jobs is making sure I understand what they need. And if I'm going to say it publicly, I've got to talk to the players about it too, and understand where the game's going.
Yeah, for me, it's just why we have this rule, and the biggest fear is that all our players are going to go overseas. It's going to, you know, ruin the brand that we have here and eventually the All Blacks. So that's the biggest fear. But for me, I think there's a simple solution. South Africa have gone, they're playing the championship, but we need to bring people back. So we've got to bring the Japanese into our competition. We've got to bring a franchise in from the west coast of America, maybe put one in Hawaii or Singapore, and then if we're playing against each other, you know if Beauden Barrett's playing well enough or Richie Mo'unga's playing well enough with the current guy at home. So we've got to start saying, we don't want anyone to go, but we can make a little back garden, right? And if you play in that back garden, Japan, and like we saw some of our All Blacks playing against the sides, you know, the sides that went up the other day. If they're playing good enough within the competition, they get picked for the All Blacks.
It's all about criteria. I mean, it really is about the situation, the circumstances that get you in a position where you absolutely need someone. And I read an article where it was getting talked about, I think, before Christmas. One of the journalists mentioned the fact, one back and one forward. Now, well, it's an interesting concept. Now, if the competition allows it, you can shake your head as much as you like to John Kirwan, but the fact of the matter is, it's by necessity. It's not going and going.
A floodgate.
No, it doesn't, because you've already written the criteria.
It's like the rules at the highest level, right?
Yeah, but
I was coaching Italy and they changed the rules, right? Richie McCaw picked it up in 3.5 weeks. It took the Italians 4 years. Remember, when you change a rule, there's a consequence. When you open the gate to this,
but
if you opened it to one, Richie Mo'unga,
no, but the criteria. It's all about
we're not opening up anything,
I know.
any rules.
Yeah, but if you do change the rule for one, it opens a floodgate, one or everyone. That's why I think competition is the way.
Can I just say you're not open anyway?
You can have your say.
It's individual. I think what the key part is that the eligibility and the criteria, the person has earned the opportunity to have the conversation. So it's case by case. It's not floodgates.
And I'm of the. It's almost the fact when you've been decimated by injury or circumstances mean you've got players unavailable, whatever it might be, but all of a sudden, because then all of a sudden if you're overseas and you know you're competing for one spot, it's irrelevant. You don't know whether you're guaranteed to get that. You're not signing a player overseas. I'm just saying all of a sudden we lose Damien McKenzie, we lose Stephen Perofeta, we've got absolutely no one. And the fact, and Richie Mo'unga is available to play international footy, should we not consider it? The fact if that's where we could end up in 4 years' time.
Totally consider it.
Just saying.
Totally consider
but not
it.
the floodgate.
But for me, what I'm hearing is that the All Black coach decides, full stop. I'm okay with that. But if you open a little rule saying you can play or you've got to play 50 tests, all that sort of stuff, I don't like it.
Oh, mate, I don't think it's just, there's a board and there's a few other things to get through. Right?
The board, the board should not comment on it. But if the All Black coach wants it, there's no way the board should even talk about whether a player should be selected from overseas.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
The CEO should and the coach should.
What about Smithy? We just talk to Smithy. Then talk to Wayne Smith.
Okay, well, it's not just our players that are overseas, but a lot of our coaches are now overseas. Tony Brown has just signed a contract
to the Blues.
Springboks.
Yes.
Well,
That's
he's
a
with the
great
Blues, but
signing.
he's linking up with Rassie Erasmus, who's taken back over the head coaching role of South Africa. Of course, you've still got Warren Gatland at Wales. Andrew Goodman is now a part of the Irish setup, which is just wonderful, having come through the Crusaders setup. Philippe Contampone has replaced Michael Cheika at Argentina. A few other coaches doing the rounds as well. Joe Schmidt has, of course, signed as head coach of the Wallabies for the next 2 years. This is a question that has come in from a fan, from Ian, and it's for all of you. Let's have a conversation about this. We'll start off with you, JK. How do you assess Joe Schmidt's appointment as the Wallabies coach?
I was a little bit disappointed. I think he'd be great, and we want Australia to be strong, but I think if you come this way, right, so you coach other nations and then you come back and you coach the All Blacks. But after that, I just think it's too close. So as an ex-All Black, I get uncomfortable with that. Too much IP. But good luck to him. I hope he makes Australia strong because I really want them to be strong. He'll be a great coach. He's a good coach. But as an ex-All Black, it just makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Nothing personal, but...
He's a professional rugby coach. So that's his living, that's his job. He can coach wherever he likes. It doesn't bother me. The fact he's reconnected with David Nusafora, who he worked with in Ireland. They were the start of something special up there. Whether or not they can do that the next couple of years, which I understand that he's committed to, I have no issues with it whatsoever. None. I mean, it's the fact that if he wants to coach and he wants to coach at the highest level, you take the best opportunity available to him. Am I surprised that it's happened now? Yeah, a little bit, you know. There's no doubt he's taking some IP away, but you could say he was doing that from Ireland and bringing it to New Zealand. There's no different. He's just a coach and he wants to coach. Australia's a tough proposition right now, though. That's not an easy place to go and coach. So they've got some work to do.
Okay. Do you want to have... Okay, well, the next question is from Lads Talking Footy. This question, directed at you, Razor. Would you like to see Fiji playing in the Rugby Championship? Do you like a Six Nations over here with Fiji and maybe Japan too?
Potentially. The big thing for that is having the availability of their players, their top players for that period of time. You know, they come in normally available for sort of 3-week period. They haven't got the length of time. So once, if that got sorted out, because the majority of their players play in the north, you know, maybe in 2 or 3 years' time when Fiji enjoyed, they've got 5, 6, maybe 10, 12 or whatever internationals in their side, and they've got a little bit more down this end of the world that could work.
JK,
I'm 100% yes, but World Rugby's got to start doing something about what Razor said. You know, they've got to pay these players out of the 500 million that they made to come down and earn enough money to play in a decent competition, not just the November test. So Fiji should be in, Japan should be in, put some resource behind them so they can get their top players. And we've got to expand our game, right? The Northern Hemisphere's doing their own stuff and we're just staying in a little bit of garden. We've got to change, and quickly.
The Fiji proved at the Rugby World Cup they deserved the opportunity. They proved that they can be competitive, but only if peak players are available.
Totally.
And pure and simply as that. This is on World Rugby. As we've talked about for how long about the international calendars, about getting the windows right for international players to be able to have their best guys, because they've shown.
But it's also
enough.
It's also this too, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, they're not getting paid what they should be when they go back to the smaller nations. You know, talk some of the poor Samoans. They come back, they're getting like $2,000, and sometimes not even. You know, we've just got to make it equal at international level. Because World Rugby cash in on it when Fiji play well and all that sort of stuff when they do get there. So we just got to change and be a bit more open and honest and move a bit quicker.
Just another observation, and I'm going back to the coaching chat here. A lot of our New Zealanders are overseas coaching at the moment. But what about the coaches that we've got back into New Zealand? You know, there was probably quite a bit of concern when you took out these great coaches of Super Rugby, but you bring back Rob Penny, you've got Vern Cotter, you've got Jamie Joseph in the mix as well. Jeff, these are world-class coaches that are now in charge of super teams.
Yeah, but Super Rugby is not international rugby, it's different. You know, and it's a matter of whether or not over the course of this campaign, a long period of time, and they're going to bring an edge to them, going to bring a great deal of experience, but also by the same token, we know that the game's different. It's changed, and so it's whether or not you have to have the balance and the fact that we have promoted some young coaches into your group. Haven't been around a long, long time, but they've clearly learnt a lot. You've got to know them really well, and you're really comfortable with Leon and Jason and obviously Jace Ryan as well. So I look at that. You know, I'm excited about what's happening right now because I'd like to think with that sort of experience, it's going to bring some steel into the Super Rugby sides, and that's really handy when it comes to international rugby.
Who's the toughest out of those three coaches? Who's the one you wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of when I'm just looking at those
three of them?
Those three names?
Yeah, I was just saying that. I was about to say that it's a really, really hard job. I've done it, and it's an incredibly hard job. You've done it.
Clearly, it's not that hard because you've done it for a
long time.
But it's hard. Come on.
It's really, really hard.
Yeah,
and
right.
Razor's been incredibly successful, and you know, we're incredibly proud of that. But if you lose, you're gone. So when you're talking about professional coaches before, if Joe wants to keep coaching and that's the next best job, so be it. So that now some of our coaches have come back. I hope they come back with less financial insecurities because it makes you way more confident. It's just a really hard job, and it's a really hard job here in New Zealand. Go overseas, earn a bit of money, get a bit of security behind you, makes your job easier because you can be gone December, right? And so I think it takes a special breed of person, and most of those people are open, honest, you know where you stand with them, and you know, I'm just pleased that there's been a change. It makes it really exciting, you know?
Do you ever give anyone a blasting? You seem just so calm and relaxed all the time, and like you're...
Is it there? Is it
Yeah,
there
is
deep
there
down when you need it?
anything to tell some people?
couple of half times are on effort.
Is
you
there?
know. I'm big on unseen efforts, you know, and a couple of times I weren't there, and I've had to sort of talk to boys, you know, just a couple of reminders. I'm not quite up there with Jake, but I've done it over times, and then it's, you know, it's like the old barking dog in it. You know, first you only need one or two.
Yep.
When it keeps barking, you get, well, it's the dog next door in it again. So you've got to pick your times.
Cannot wait to get back into the green room after this program and see what sort of blasting you give these two for all this chat on the program. But Super Rugby, 6:30 start, Sky Sport 1 coming up this Friday. The Chiefs up against the Crusaders. Crusaders, of course, 7-time defending champions. It's at the Chiefs' house once again, though, a repeat of the final last year. Do not go anywhere. There is still plenty more to come right here on Sky.
Been going to work all game.
That's all right. You need good break. Got it. Yeah, good defensive presence she follows. It's nice. It's good. Hey, the thing is that we're not playing bad. It's just a couple of things that we need to tidy up. We're still up on the scoreboard, and we're doing that. So we just need to be a bit more smarter. We're trying to man up with them. They've come to play too. Rugby, eh? They come to play rugby. And we haven't had a physical team like this before. But we're better than that. Switch the switch, eh? Cody on 3, 1, 2, 3, hey! Mana! Let's go, Rico.
Game Changers, a coach's live, coming to screens near you on Tuesday, live on Sky Sport at 7:30 p.m. There is this incredible bunch of wahine tour of these strong female coaches coming through in the New Zealand ranks at the moment, and that documentary will shed an insight into that. But we want to talk about your coaching story and your journey, because it hasn't been the same. Every coaching story is different and every pathway is different, isn't it? But for you, I mean, you've come through so many different grades. I mean, what's been the most enjoyable part for you? Was it back in Christchurch at Sumner, or was it the age grade teams?
Yeah, it's a bit of everything. I actually was coaching while I was playing. I was pretty much taking all Wayne Smith stuff and taking it down the Christ College under 16B side when I was 1997 when I started. And I just had the love, the passion of group and connecting people. And I started on the defensive side of the ball. So when I finished and retired, I was actually coaching my club Sumner while I was still playing as well, on and off. And then when I retired, I went back and sat down with Robbie Deans. It was 2007. Robbie said, mate, I want to come in. I want to help you with the Crusaders. And he was nodding and nodding. He goes, yeah, I'll come and get you when you're ready. But I said, get on your son. Off you go. And he goes, go and he gave some great advice. He said, go and coach your club. Go and join the board. Understand what's required from the next level, higher level. How the administration side of it, and then go and build a club. And we were only Division 2 at that side time, Sumner. So we had a couple of successful years, went up to Division 1, was still the clubs and still in Division 1, got a cult side. So I learned how to build a club from probably the inside out, and then I went into, I coached NPC for 9 years. Yeah. I was involved for New Zealand Under-20s for 5 years, 2 as head coach, and then obviously into the Crusaders. But the part that I really love, and it's the relationships, the connections, and how you see the young men, boys into men, all the 20s guys that I had that are playing now, watch their careers, they're becoming great fathers and husbands, and they're growing, and they've made their career out of the game that I love, and I had a part to do with that, and it keeps you young. It keeps you with them, you come in and the energy that they have. That's the part that I've enjoyed the most.
Because I think there's a misconception in some ways that all you know is Canterbury and the Crusaders. Yeah. But you've had so much more experience. You've coached the Barbarians as well. Yeah. I mean, you've gone around the world and taken opportunities there. So in regards to the fact when you start talking about this next job and the fact that it's not just Crusaders players, you know a lot of these young guys, you guys that you've been dealing with, right? That's
right, and I've been coached by 4 Sirs. You forget who's
the 4 Sawyers?
It wasn't JK.
Who were the 4 Sawyers?
Wayne Smith,
Graham Henry,
Steve Henson,
Graham
Henry,
Who's the 5th?
and McGeechan?
No.
Sir, who's the
Oh,
last?
Clive.
Sir Gordon Titchens.
Sir Gordon
It was my
Titchens.
first one.
Of
So he
course.
flogged me in my career.
I
Took
missed
my
that.
cartilage off me. But so I've had...
Still on the mount, probably.
That's right. But I've had so many coaching experiences and stuff, and they all taught me the love of the game, you know, and I want to be a part of it as long as I possibly can. I've been around the game for years, 30-odd years nearly, you know, just professional. It's a long time.
I'm interested in... I'm a big advocate. I think our game is in trouble, right, from a spectator point of view, the fans. So I walk through the airport, we want to see more rugby. We love it. When rugby's played well, it's the greatest game, right? What rules would you change to speed our game up? Rugby league's gone from 34 minutes to 55 minutes, right? We need 31 minutes was the World Cup final. What one rule would you change?
I think it's... We've got all the rules that are there. It's just the adjudication of it and how we keep the tempo of the game, you know, the scrums and 30 seconds for line-outs and the kick clocks and stuff. And so we can bring fatigue into our game so the games open up a little bit more later on. So you're enthralling, got high tempo. There's just more action. So it is there. And it's not as easy as you think, you know, like I sit on both sides of it because I understand what the referees and what they're trying to do and how they're trying to get better. But more rugby, more game time, more ball and play would be better for all of us and more eyes.
And I can guarantee you that's what's going to happen in Super Rugby this year.
Well, there's more changes in Super Rugby, isn't
They
there?
are doing everything they can to try and speed up the game and to have less TMO. They're trying to do the best they possibly can. You will see changes in Super Rugby this year. I guarantee it.
You can see it right here, live on Sky, every game of Super Rugby. You can also get to some of the games as well. Moana Pacifica are doing an incredible deal. Adult tickets from just $20. So they're trying to make it accessible for their fans. You can scan the QR code there. They're playing all over the Auckland and Northland region, North Harbour Stadium, Seminoff Stadium and Go Media Stadium as well. Just quickly, and when I say quickly, I mean very quickly, opening game, 6:15 on air on Sky on Friday. Crusaders Chiefs, who wins?
Can't wait.
Who
Don't
wins?
know.
Just give us an answer.
Chiefs.
He can't answer
Best
that
team
question.
on the night.
Best team.
Which one is it for you?
Okay, you go.
No,
He can't answer it. He can't answer. I'm going to go. Even though I've picked the Crusaders, I think the Chiefs are going to win this game.
Oh,
this is not
come
one.
on.
Yeah, we know you're going the Chiefs.
Come
You're going
on.
the Chiefs.
Chiefs will win this game, the opening game. Righto, that is us done and dusted, but we'll see you soon for Super Rugby.